I play an archer, GM converts me to a monk. We had a new campaign and a different GM, so I wanted to try out something different from the norm. An archer sounded like an interesting challenge, so I built one. Tracking my ammo, scouting to plan combat, inevitably getting killed in close combat, because I literally don't have a second weapon. I was ready for the whole thing from start to death. The first game day we have the party is magically split up, so I climb a tree to look for them. Naturally the embodiment of death appears in front of me and plucks out my eyes. I'm now a blind archer. I hear a pack of rabbit dogs apparently coming up to me, so I do the only thing that makes sense, now that I'm worse than useless, and fall out of the tree to lay down and let the dogs kill me. The GM says I passed the test, turns out death was some kind of Zen embodiment and now I'm a monk, so I don't need a bow. I told him that I keep waiting for the dogs. I just go home. I love this sub, but I've played with the same PPL for 30 years, so I've no horror stories. Or so I thought. I've just remembered an acquaintance of mine begs me to run some mutants and masterminds for them. I asked the players who their favorite superheroes were, whipped up a session, and I was ready to go. Players are expressway versions of Thor, the Doctor and the Invisible Women. Skipping to the good part. Me, the speech is caught short by a large explosion and a shout of powers out. Humans first. Rings out. People are screaming, the crowd begins to panic. What do? Thor. I fly up and try to shout to the crowd to stay calm, while also scanning for the person who may have been the bomber. The Invisible Woman. I use force fields to protect who I can from falling debris. The Doctor IDK. I just go home. Me. Oh, you're going home to research the bomber or? The Doctor. Nope. Just gonna go home. Me. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure what to do with that. The Doctor. Shrug. Me. Do you not want to play? The Doctor. Not really. And that was it. Game lasted 4 minutes. Still not sure what the hell that was. Guide on how to know if a story is fake or not. Ultimate Definitive Edition. Lately I've noticed a lot of meta discussions on the topic of faking stories, so I decided to throw my hat into the ring and compiled a list of general rules that can be applied to pretty much every post on here. Hope this helps. Is greater than exclamation point 1. Consistency is key. An OP should never give you their either up is greater than exclamation point 2. Regardless of its legitimacy, it always sucks when a story doesn't have a satisfying conclusion. Especially the extra long posts. A good author would never let you down. Is greater than exclamation point 3. Isn't it weird how some ops refuse to acknowledge any sort of criticism? But you can see that they are active on other subreddits. It's pretty telling. If they run around and desert you like that, they're probably hiding something. Exclamation point 4. This is r/Rupger or store is not r/sad. The goal shouldn't be to make you cry. Is greater than exclamation point 5. It's a bit of a personal gripe. But never say goodbye at the end of your posts. Not only is it unnecessarily dramatic, but we all know you're going to be back in a month or two. Exclamation point 6. Don't let the OP bully you. Telling lies is one thing, but if they are trying to hurt you in some way, then you should definitely speak up. And, yeah, that's it. I just wanted to tell you guys how I'm feeling, and, hopefully, make you understand my point of view. My DM decided to help our PC team as a DMPC. My DM decided to help our team by joining. Our DM created a character at the beginning of the game, which is fully understandable. The character was a story progressor, essentially. I have no problem with this. A character used to progress a story is fine. My problem is this. He made it, so his character has an infinite. That's not a joke, that's what his character sheet says. Can use any spell at will, and only has to touch something to kill it, as he has unlimited death touch. He also has roughly 20 large slimes. Every combat that we've had he decides that he wants to demonstrate his power to us. And does something new to just kill whatever enemy we are fighting. A giant king that is basically a Dark Souls type character that he can kill in one turn. Oh man, that's fun for the players. I honestly didn't expect it to work. Is his excuse every time. I want to drop out of this campaign. But I don't want to upset my friend. What do I do? I'm not having fun just sitting there trying to do a fight where I get one turn before whatever we're fighting dies because he can do 50d10 damage from a single spell. Then his slimes come right after him, doing basically the same thing. I don't know how, but they do. No fantasy races means no fantasy races. I wrote a book. I don't want to dox myself, but the book is about a medieval exploration looking for a lost magical city. They actually find a Lovecraftian cult and unearth a church conspiracy. There aren't fantasy races and the only magic classes are warlocks, psionics and clerics. I'll let my Cthulhu group know about it, and they all seemed interested. I explained that it would be set in my book. They're all aware of it. I laid out the guidelines and they all make characters for session 0. They're all going around the table introducing themselves when one PC starts explaining that she's an elf from some weird elf place. I ask her if she remembers the restrictions, and she explains she read the core books. I tell her there's only humans in this world, and she asks if we're playing 5e. I tell her yay, but there's still not any humans. She asks why are we playing 5e. Then I tell her that I'm only able to DM 5e since I'm not too confident with other systems. She starts explaining why 5e is bad for games without multiple races. I'll let her give her spiel before telling her that I'm still gonna run 5e without humans. She tells me that doesn't make sense. We start arguing about the relative strengths of 5e. I tell her I'm not gonna change on this, and she shows me her article explaining why 5e is good. I tell her if she keeps the elf she can't play, and she says she doesn't want to play a game with someone hosgutting 5e. I tell her that's fine and I'm glad we figured this out early. She starts debating the rest of the table trying to get them to agree with her. Eventually she leaves and tells the GM for the other game that I'm running a shitty 5e game. She texts the GM just insulting me for choosing to restrict things, and when the GM defended me, she started insulting him. The GM ended up kicking her from his game. All of this shit happened because she's mad at me for different main choices. Edit. Sorry, my English is not the most well cleaned. Unsure why I deserve that. This happened a few years ago, so I dropped them long ago. M26 joined an online session just before COVID started getting rampant for the first and last time, and was invited by, let's call her JF26. We met a few times DT through mutual friends. We have a bar here called Villains that does D&D related stuff, and I saw her there too to my surprise. So I hop on Discord on agreed day and meet her friends. They all seemed nice and were a part of her sorority and told me some funny stories. The DM came on last and said hello to everyone, and he noticed I was in and asked who I was. I felt kinda singled out, but Jay explained she invited me. Since they are work friends, I guess he just let it go. The DM then seemed fine and the 6 of us kicked off. We started in a typical you're in prison scenario. Get out. I played a rogue, so I thought perfect my skills would be useful here. The DM quickly exclaimed that I wasn't there and not to interrupt. We just kinda laughed it off. After they got out, no problem, it was my turn, and apparently I was in a deeper part of the prison and I was being tortured. Shackled by my hands and feet and gagged. Being poked with sticks by guards. The worst part is that he said I didn't have any chance to escape since I was bound, therefore prone. They do horrible things to me and then he kills my character. I was so confused and didn't know why I deserved that. DM bullies PC who had to leave at the agreed end time by killing their character. Second session of the campaign, we hit the agreed upon end time. DM wants to keep going but one of the PCs needs to leave. I'm the most experienced player / and typical DM, so she asks me to run her character. As she's leaving, the DM starts joking that he's going to kill her character as soon as she leaves. 10 minutes later we get in a fight on a mountain path. She's an archer, so I put her in a defensible position that's behind the front line that's also away from the slope. I declare a readied action to fire her arrow at anything that approaches the group. DM decides that the enemy can leap over the frontline fighters, attack her without provoking our opportunity attacks or letting her use the readied action. On a hit, he declares she flies through the air several spaces and falls off the cliff and dies. DM ends the episode noting that it's not his fault because he's just running by the book and it was a bad die roll. DM took our gold away is a pretty short story that happened just today. In the last session, our party found a big chest full of gold in some kind of vault hidden in a cemetery. We took all the gold and put it into our bags. Soon after that, we had to fight some kind of a skeleton lord. He was our first serious boss in this campaign. After killing the boss, which took like 23 hours, session ended and we had 2 weeks break in our campaign. At that time we all planned what we are going to do with so much gold. We planned to buy some armors and weapons to be more effective in the fight. But after 2 weeks, when we came back to this campaign, DM started by basically saying that as we kill the skeleton lord we can feel our bags becoming much lighter. When we checked our bags, it turned out that all the gold we found was gone. To be honest, I don't know how to feel about that. To be fair, there was a lot of gold, maybe even too much, but giving people a ton of money, 2 weeks to plan what we are going to do with it. To just take it away is, in my opinion, a DCK move. Player needs to be center of attention, but can't talk to anyone. They're a player in our group that loves to roleplay, but only if it involves her. No one else seems to be able to have their own moments. Anytime we meet new NPCs or get near a town, she feels the need to be the first to interact with them. But never does it well. She also doesn't care about anyone else. If it's not about her, she'll play with her pets. Or play with minis like dolls, or be on her phone. She never pays attention during combat. See, she made an animal. As in, she made a character who doesn't talk, can't read or write, and doesn't understand how to interact with people or civilization. Another of our group's characters has to babysit her constantly, so she doesn't do anything too horrible. She hoards magic items because shiny. Anytime we get close to a town, she decides to transform into some predatory animal and run through it to cause as much panic as possible. Or in meeting an NPC, she'll throw rocks at them. In a dozen sessions, I haven't wanted to interact with her once. The only person in our party who interacts with her is the person who has to babysit her. No one else really cares about her. And she doesn't belong in our party. Even in her own character, she doesn't actually have a justification for staying with us beyond just following us around. She doesn't know anything about any of the other characters in the party, and she doesn't bother to pay any attention to us. And the sad thing is, she's safe from any danger because the DM is her boyfriend, so he gives her plot armor. No matter how bad she acts, there's never consequences. She should be in jail by now, but everyone just seems to ignore her antics, because if she doesn't get her way, she becomes really whinny and cold towards everyone else. And it's not like we can drop her or the game, because several of us live together, and that would spark a tantrum to end all tantrums. It's gotten so bad that I've plotted her death dozens of times. No enemy will attack her, and no NPC will get rid of her. So one of us would have to do it. But God, would that release a demon? I'm sorry, this turned more into venting than I intended. Just a symptom of a bad player and bad DM holding the rest of us hostage with no easy way out. I'll try to rest now, and I'll try to answer any questions, if people have them. Gaslighted into thinking DM disappeared. I roll. Long. Point of order, I can only tell you what happened, the conclusion I came to, and the evidence to support it. This 100% happened as I remember it. A Reddit post in LFG was asking for players for a homebrew 5e setting. Very steampunk, flying City of Gears style kind of story. We get chosen after talking online via Discord privately with the DM, and then we meet the other members of the newly formed group. Everyone seems chill and excited to play. The DM goes into his history of DMing, how he lives in Japan, and how he is DMing other games along with ours. Important for later, we get in gear. First session right into the heart of the story. We are all playing, fighting gods, music is playing on a bot. It was awesome. A poster child for how a game should start and feel, or so we thought. The week goes by, and we begin to pile in for session 2. All the players are in the Discord ready to go, and now we are just waiting for the DM, who was active and had messaged in the general chat an hour ago. He doesn't show. We wait awkwardly for 45 minutes waiting, trying to private message him, message his Reddit, nothing. We say maybe something happened? I hope he is okay, and agree to meet again next week, and wait in the meantime to see if he messages in the group. The week goes by silently. It is the day before game day. Radio silence. A new person joins the Discord. It is Guy. Made up name Guy says he is from the DM's other game and asks us if we have heard from him. The DM also missed their game and hasn't messaged anyone 0.0. At this point, we are all like, WTF? Where is he? What is going on? We barely know each other, so when game day comes and goes without him, we all awkwardly say goodbye after one session. As I hover my mouse over the leave Discord server button, I have a thought. How did Guy get into the server? No one knew him. He was a stranger who, according to him, knew the DM. The server was for our game alone. Made by the DM, and only he invited us. Who invited Guy? Did the DM fabricate this plan? This plan to end the recently started game by faking his disappearance and create a fake account under the name Guy to sell the story was our session 1 so bad collectively that he activated some Omega level last resort to avoid an awkward conversation. If this ending is disappointing to you, I agree. I still don't know. I stayed in the server for another month, sending messages to both accounts and got nothing back. It is the single weirdest experience in my life as a D&D player.